Hey guys, this is Chris, and before we get started, I would like to thank Geek Fuel for sponsoring this video. Geek Fuel is an awesome subscription-based mystery box company for geeks and gamers. Each monthly mystery box includes an exclusive t-shirt, a full game, and a total of 5 to 7 items including comics, novelties, and collectibles. Each mystery box totals at least $50 worth of gear for less than half the price. And October is a special Game of Thrones theme that will include an exclusive Game of Thrones item that I can't reveal right now, but trust me, it's very, very cool. And on top of that, if you use the special Smokescreen link, you will receive an additional Game of Thrones item, so be sure to grab yours now while it lasts. And regardless of the month and theme, anyone using the special Smokescreen link, you will receive a Game of Thrones bonus item in your very first box. So check out Geek Fuel, and I will leave a link in the description below so you can get your very first box and your licensed Game of Thrones bonus item. Hello Ice and Fire Nerds, this is Chris, and this is going to be another Game of Thrones Season 7 speculation video. Let's talk about Captain Friendzone himself, Jorah Mormont. Will he find a cure, will he survive, or will he go out in a blaze of glory for his releasing? Alright, so let's jump right in. Ian Glenn has been seen in Belfast. This is not really new news, and of course that's where we see most of the scenes that happen over in Westeros. Now this is not necessarily surprising because Dany is now on her way to Westeros. She has met up with the Dornish ships as well as Tyrell ships, so I'm thinking she's a lot closer to Westeros than we think, and she'll probably get there pretty quickly in Season 7. Pending some sort of sea battle with Euron, but I do think because she has already met up with the Dornish ships and Varys was on those ships with her on the way back, they probably met somewhere in the middle, so there perhaps may be a battle with Euron. That's another video entirely, but I'm not sure if he had time to build those 1,000 ships. But of course this is Dan and Dave and HBO, so their time frames don't quite fit reality a lot of the times. Anyway, the point being that it looks like we're going to see Jorah in Westeros, and of course Dany sent him off and commanded him to find a cure for his grayscale. Now one thing that's interesting about grayscale is it is curable sometimes in children, and of course we saw that in Shireen. They brought it to our attention early on when we met Shireen in Season 2 that she did have grayscale. The actual cure is unknown because Stannis just brought in all the maesters and apothecaries he could find. Somehow they stopped the spread of the disease, but it's also stated in many cases that the adult version is basically fatal and incurable. Now of course Jorah is not the one who gets grayscale in the books. It is a character not in the show called Jon Connington. He is the protector of young Griff, aka Aegon Targaryen, more likely a Blackfire pretender, but nevertheless he gets it in the books as opposed to the show. Jorah kind of took that storyline, but it is interesting to have Shireen there as far as knowing that she did get cured, so something is certainly possible. Also, just for a little backstory in the books as far as Shireen goes up to the wall just like in the show with her parents Stannis and Selyse, but there's another character in the books named Val who is the sister of Mance Rayder's wife. When she meets Shireen, she is very weary of her grayscale and calls her unclean and basically calls her the Walking Dead. Now Val is an important character in the books, not so much the show obviously, and just for a little backstory on Val really quickly, Stannis is trying to basically use her to unite the Wildlings with the Southerners by marrying Val, basically a Wildling princess, to a Southern lord. He actually offered to marry Val to Jon Snow if he would become Lord of Winterfell, but just like in the show, Jon of course declined at the time, saying he's a brother of the Night's Watch and he can't take part in the Seven Kingdoms and their politics. Anyway, back to Jorah. How could he possibly find a cure? Now I had actually mentioned this in a video, I think it was one of our Q&A videos a while back, that I thought perhaps that he could go to Quaithe. Now of course Quaithe is the mysterious lady in the mask who we saw back in an earlier season. She does play a much bigger role in the books because she's always with Dany giving her these prophetic riddles. She appears to her apparently using glass candles, and again if you don't know what a glass candle is because we have not seen one in the show, in the books they are magical obsidian dragon glass candles without actual wicks. They have to be lit by magic, and apparently somebody can use one of those to send messages to somebody across long distances and even enter their dreams, and apparently that's how Quaithe is sending messages to Dany throughout the books, using glass candles, so she doesn't actually have to be there to give her advice. Although she could be a little more straightforward. I never understood the whole riddle thing, but it's just for us book readers to try to figure shit out. Anyway, we had heavy foreshadowing that Jorah was going to be the one to get grayscale back in an earlier season when Dany and them met Quaithe in Qarth, and of course Quaithe was giving the tattoo to the man saying,
Jorah the Andal. This man must sail past Old Valyria. All who travel too close to the doom must have protection.
So if you were a book reader at the time, you probably picked up on that a little bit as far as the hint of somebody getting grayscale, although at that time we were unsure if we were going to see John Connington and young Griff. But anyway, as for the show, this is certainly a possibility because Jorah rode off to find a cure, and I'm sure he will actually listen to Dany and try to find a cure because he does want to be at her side. And somewhere in the back of his head, even though he's Captain Friendzone, there's still a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah! Quaithe is certainly one possibility. She is a Shadowbinder from Ashai, although she doesn't seem to be affiliated with any Red God lore religions like Melisandre and Kinvara, and at least for the show, I would say it's probably unlikely we'll see Quaithe again, and we'll probably not even see Essos again for that matter. At least I fucking hope not. Now, Kinvara did not go on the ship with Dany. You would think that she would have been on the ships with Dany. Maybe she is somewhere, we just didn't see her. She does, of course, believe she is Azor Ahai, the savior, the prince that was promised. She told Tyrion and Varys this in season 6, but we didn't see her board any ships with Dany coming across to Westeros. But the reason I bring this up as far as a possibility for a cure is in the books we have a character called Moqorro. Now in the books, Victarion Greyjoy was sent by Euron Greyjoy instead of going himself like he was going to in the show. He is sent by Euron after winning the King's Moot to go find Dany and bring her back so he can marry her and take her fucking dragons. But Victarion, of course, says, no, I think I'll do it myself and wed the Dragon Queen myself because he don't like his brother any more than anybody else. And he comes across this character, Red Priest, named Moqorro, and at the time Victarion has a wound on his hand that could have ended up very well being fatal. Now, of course, Victarion is a follower of the Drowned God, but he kind of makes a deal with the Red God and gets his hand healed by Moqorro, but after he apparently heals him, his hand and arm is described as burnt flesh, but it's also described as stronger than it ever was. So in fact, Moqorro did save his life, so that could very well happen to somebody like Jorah in the show. Maybe perhaps he's in Westeros, he comes across somebody like Melisandre, perhaps Thoros of Myr in the Riverlands, and some kind of red witch magic is performed to save Jorah's life as an adult with grayscale, so he can fight to live another day for his queen Dany, who's coming across the Narrow Sea as we speak, or as we film, or as they film. Now, with all that said, whether he could be healed by, some other means that we don't know about yet, some magic perhaps in the north, perhaps he goes back north and comes across, some remaining children of the forest, as he goes to House Mormont, of course, in Bear Island, which is way, way up north. Of course, we have the Melisandre option or Kinvara option, since they do like to combine characters, and there is no Moqorro in the show. And of course, bringing Quaithe back into the picture would be pretty cool to me to see him go back to the original person that foreshadowed him getting it in the first place. But personally, at this point, I don't think Jorah is actually going to find a cure. I certainly think he'll go out in a blaze of glory somehow by saving Dany in some way or doing something for her or to help her win a battle perhaps, or even the War for the Dawn. I think he will do something to help her one more time to serve his Khaleesi, the love of his life, but I think he will probably die doing it. And I do have a little Jorah theory that I'll talk about in A Dragon Raised by Wolves Part 3. But I could be wrong, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Will we see Jorah survive? We know he's going to be in Westeros, so that makes it very, very interesting of who he could run across or run into. There are several options, again, whether it's Melisandre, Kinvara perhaps coming along with Dany, perhaps Thoros of Myr, or perhaps running into Quaithe again, since at least in the book, she seems to be looking out for Dany, although quite frankly, I've never understood if she's some secret character like a Shara Dane, as some speculate, or Shiera Seastar, the half-sister to Bloodraven, what she's doing in Qarth across the Narrow Sea looking out for Dany in a fucking tattoo parlor. So thanks again, guys. Be sure to give me a like and a share if you like what I do here. As usual, thank you for all the support. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.